Hey, welcome. This is Podcast Pete testing a overlay. Hey, I just want to welcome you. Today we're going to talk about what happens if the world Oh, that's what okay, sorry about that. What happened if you would oh geez, I messed that one up. Okay. What I wanted to bring to you today is really three things of really keeping an open mindset and why it's so important. And I want to give you the first is I just had a gentleman, and this is kind of top of mind. We know each other from church, and we've had dialogue about certain things, and he's bilingual. And I thought it'd be cool to bring a bilingual person that understands mindset. And I didn't know the extent of his mindset. And this is where I think the one point I want to bring across is we were talking about podcasts, and he's mentioning all these names. I'm going, holy mackerel, these are the people I listen to. And I think what he said, which makes so much sense, the short form video, which you see out there, a lot of it takes the brain and it puts so much stimulation because it's always changing. It's always like new thought, once 30 seconds, 20 seconds. So if you are out there, you have to be aware of how you stimulate your mind, because this brain is for thinking. And thinking needs a strategic approach to it, to not always go to what stimulates it, like multitasking, because somebody thinks, well, if I can do two things at once, I'll be faster. Brain doesn't work that way. The brain works off of a singular focus. And you'll see people, and it was just brought up in a podcast this morning, where the person's eyes are going back and forth, meaning they're looking over there, seeing who's there, um, doing something on the computer, talking to you. They're not present. They're not focused on what you're saying. They're focused on the multitude of thoughts. And that creates a brain that's not thinking. And without a deep thinking part of your brain, it falls into the stimulation of today. When I said earlier about the short form video, you have to be careful of short form video because it's intended to grab your attention and lead you to a longer podcast. But if you sit there and scroll and go from one short video to another, your brain is like bing, 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 bing. I mean, it's like overstimulation, especially if you did that later at night before you were going to bed. Your brain is going to have so much stimulation that it's not going to be able to rest. Reading an hour before bed is a good thing to do. And so when you think of this brain and the thinking of it, it's so important that you know how your brain works. There's a great book, I think it's up there on my bookshelf, called, let me think, right there, Mindset, which is, right here. Crystal, you did a good job. There it is. Mindset, closed mindset, open mindset. And we're going to discuss that in point 2. But my point is, be present, think, singular thoughts, and not overstimulate your brain. Just to add to that, I want to just bring up this one point, the iPhone. We rarely know the phone numbers of people we dial. We hit a button and it takes us GPS to us from A to B. We don't have to think along the way. We just have to follow instructions. Well, when you do that, it's less thinking, less developing of that muscle. And that's critical for you to really be a person that thinks. The second point I want to bring that talks about, let's forget about this title. I messed that thing up bad. Okay, is the mindset of open versus closed. And I think a closed mindset will be the person that only digests the information that supports how they believe. And you can look at what's going on in America. You have one side and you have the other. Very few people are in the middle. They believe what they believe. And if you give them an opposing viewpoint, which they don't always even want to hear, they're not open to learning. They have that brain fixed in a closed mindset. You can look at the two major competitors. Well, they're not really competitors, but they are. CNN has their market, and they feed their market the ones that are a little bit to the left. Then you have the right that may feed their market. And so do you have people that watch the first hour of CNN and the second hour of Fox? Very rarely. You're either a Fox fan or a CNN fan. So that creates a very closed mind because you don't want opposing viewpoints, opposing belief systems. You want just the information that supports your belief system. So that's a really good example of that, how a person can accept that information based on what they believe. Always challenge, ask people. If you drive, just in a sense, you drive to work the same way, maybe change the direction. Get your brain to think. Don't put it on autopilot because it's not thinking. I heard the other day, and I just wanted to bring this, 4 hours is the average time that people spend watching TV. Most of it is passive TV watching, which doesn't stimulate your brain in a good way, getting you to think. But the point is, whether you're scrolling on social or watching hours of TV, it's not using this. And by using this, like any muscle, you're going to be able to exercise that muscle. And so the last thing I think I wanted to bring up, and it came up yesterday, I had a certain belief about a situation. I had convinced myself that's the direction I wanted to go in. A person called to ask me about that. I mean, it was kind of like I had already, if that person hadn't called, I would have gone with the belief system that I had created that day, which would have been a different outcome. But this person called, which the third point is, talk to people. We text a lot, we email a lot, we go on social, we DM people. Talk to people. Grab your phone. Talk to people. The dialogue with people gets you to understand more, gets you to get back to where we used to have more of that type of communication. But we've gone to a social media and a way that we don't engage in any dialogue with people. We separate ourselves by using that phone as our buffer to the way we talk to people. Oh, I don't have time. Well, to that question is, everybody has 24 hours. Nobody is able to get 25. Elon Musk doesn't get 25 and everybody gets 24. Every single person gets the same amount. How you spend that time is the difference in the level of your relationships and the level of your success. So look at your calendar. How do you set your calendar up? Are you creating enough space in the day to think, to learn, to grow? Or are you reacting, answering somebody else's email, which is their priorities, not yours? Are you texting versus calling and talking to people? The quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. I think that Tony Robbins said that, or Jim Rohn, somebody. Makes sense. But if your relationships are based on texting and social media and things that aren't real communication with people, they'll be shallow. And shallow is not the kind of relationships you want. You want deeper relationships. So I think I can remember all three. Okay. So keep an open mind, number one. Be open to what somebody is sharing. You don't have to always go to their side, but listen, hear that person. Two, be aware of the information that you consume. If there's too much of one side to it, are you getting an objective way to look at things? In a lot of cases, if you only read certain things or listen to certain things, that's the belief system you're going to have. Challenge your belief system. Listen to different things. Challenge your brain to think creatively by accepting different viewpoints. And the last thing that we talked about is think, think, think. The phone is there as a tool. The more you watch TV, scroll social media, the more you're just like a robot. By consuming too much information that doesn't allow you to think, you're going to eventually not have that muscle used enough where it's going to have some problems. So be a thinker. Challenge your belief system with thinking. And so I want to test this new overlay. So I wanted to test it. But if you have any comments, anything that you would like us to talk about, but 3:00 every day, you're going to get either a guest, or if I don't have a guest, I'm going to bring you 3 concepts, because the brain kind of can handle 3. 10, maybe not. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time of listening. Appreciate your comments. And if you want me to invite a guest on, let me know. But I want to explore deeper the mindset of openness, of being open to ideas. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Have a great day, great weekend.